Participate in a conversation with once conservative, now liberal Midwest mastered prepared special education high school teacher and a self-proclaimed devil's advocate, East Coast conservative liberal, baccalaureate prepared registered nurse. These two strangers met, became instant friends, and realized their conversations are candid and epic. So join us weekly, ask us questions, and listen to these profoundly candid friends try to solve the world's problems, one discussion at a time.
Hey, welcome to another exciting episode of The New Theory with Monet and Jared, aka TNT with MJ. I am Jared.
I'm Monet.
And together we are teaching minds
and nurturing souls.
Well, I'm full transparency for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We do not have questions.
No.
There's been so much going on within the last 72 hours. That I think we have enough content to just kind of wing it. And now you get to witness what a phone call between Monet and Jared sound like. So with that being said, we're just going to start out with the obvious. And Monet, you there in Philadelphia, how's it going with how's it going there?
The hairs on the back of my neck are rising. Okay. I've never checked Google. The Google website so much for the updated results. Mm-hmm. The last I checked, which was about an hour ago, we were at 88% of the counting, and we were roughly 90,000 votes to separate us from the current administration to a newer administration. The thing is, the undertone in the city is, if you talk to any, and I'm going to represent Philadelphia, we want change. We just want change. We want a democracy that reflects our intellect and our basis. We feel as though, as Americans, we can intercede. We can, is that the right word? I don't know. We can work with this administration to achieve the goals of democracy that we desire, that the Constitution wrote for us.
Right.
And this is, everybody's like, you guys love Biden. Okay. It's not about, we're not there. Okay. Yeah. We just want we want our views reflected in our democracy. We want people to, so yes, no, we're all freaking out. We're very shocked, considering we are a Democratic state throughout. Like, we're always the majority Democrat in our state, because we have our foundation are Quakers, and Quakers had democracy written in their bylaws. Okay, they were very for people, goodness, kindness, and love. Okay, they want the world to reflect this love of people. Okay, of mankind, of goodness, of the planet. And so that's why I'm very shocked that we went this far to the left or right. What is it? Sorry.
And yeah, I think I understand what you're saying there. I think, in my opinion, should Biden win, and I'm going to be honest with you, should Biden win, the first thing I'm going to be looking for is whether or not he actually holds up to his promise of seeking legislation that would include reparations. Because he's made that promise. He's said that before.
Well,
I'm just saying, that's what I'm looking for.
Look.
I know that's weird for me to say, but, just say. I just want to see it happen. I just want to see it happen. That's my point,
The reality is like, look, we all have, so again, and I'm going to bring this up, the Maslow's hierarchy of
needs. Right.
There you go. I'm just going to start at that. I just want a safe community I want to be able to live in my house. We can talk about taxes. We can talk about the fundamentals of the finances. Okay, I get it. People don't want their taxes to go up. They want the government money to be more effective. They want to see what our taxes are doing for the people, and we want the government to be transparent with where the money's going. We don't want, any more political corruptness. That is pervasive. Any person that woke up whatever time in the morning, afternoon, went out, stood in lines, cast the ballots, whether they did it via mail and were very, like I did, you did, we were very diligent with making sure our I's were dotted, our T's were crossed. We did it exactly like they asked us to do. We said we're going to take the civic duty very seriously.
Absolutely.
Because we have a responsibility to each other, and we want whoever's representing us to fulfill the commitment and the promises. And as far as on my list of 20 things, the reparations, I don't even think it's on my list as a minority. I know that sounds crazy, Jared, because of course I want whatever, okay, because that scares people. That scares a lot of white people, Jared.
I'm sure. I know it does. I know it does.
Because they're like, what does that mean? Are our lives going to change? Are people, because it's like, if you and I say change, we think of opportunities, benefits, rewards. I mean, optimism. When I think of Western Pennsylvania, where I used to live, which was like 90% of the county voted for Trump, because they're like, I don't want change. I don't want anybody telling me. I don't want my taxes to be affected. I don't want, because that's huge for them. I don't want anybody coming and saying that I can't have my gun. I can't, and it's like, okay, here's the deal. Nobody's going to move into your neighborhood that's not already there. Okay.
Yeah.
If that's really what you're afraid of, nobody's going to take your bonfires away. Nobody's going to take. So please get that out of your mind.
Yeah.
Listen to the people that are asking for change. And then in turn, we will listen to you, but speak plainly and speak honestly. Jared, I know for a fact white people like living in all white communities. They do. But if you took a class in sociology, and if you can remember anything from it, people gravitate towards their likeness.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So that's not going to, let's talk plainly. Let's talk some real shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm not coming to your neighborhood. Okay? We can party when we see each other, and I will go back to wherever I came from. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I gravitate towards my likeness, whether it be whatever religious community I'm a part of, and it happens naturally. And it also tends, but my likeness, because my level of what is it when you're spiritual, I connect with goodness a lot. And if you're not, I don't connect with you.
Right.
All right, no, that's a lie, because I connect with everybody sometimes, whatever. There's a margin in there.
I love the definitive language next to the sometimes.
Sometimes there's assholes out there.
What are you gonna do? Oh man. No, I agree with you completely, actually. In fact, I mean, that's ultimately one of the, well, not ultimately, that's the Harvard implicit bias test actually measures that a little bit, because it talks about preferences. That's all it is. It talks about, and it just proves your point that we gravitate to our likeness. And maybe we see the other, anybody who doesn't look like us, might see them a little bit suspiciously, dangerously, that type of stuff. And so, but I mean, from my perspective, and then even I have more I have, I guess what the ultimate, the final results were, I have more of a preference towards people who white people versus people who are dark. But does that necessarily mean that I hate or don't like black or brown people? No, not at all. Not at all. Interestingly enough, I am a special ed teacher. So side note, I actually have a about average preference, or I do have a preference towards people who are not disabled. versus people who are disabled, which is, as a special ed teacher, I think that's a little ironic.
Oxymoron.
Yeah, a little bit. But granted, that was 3 or 4 years ago. So, yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. So,
okay.
So in fairness, I've not taken it recently. So, hopefully that's changed. But that being said,
The fact of the matter is, Jerry,
yeah.
you're
Sorry
a
to get
very
off on a sidebar there.
person. No, you're a compassionate person, but you're being honest, and that's what we need. I listened to the argument of the Trumpsters or people that supported Donald Trump, and I hear them saying he speaks very candidly. Well, then let's have the candid conversation.
Sure.
I'd rather talk to a white person that says, I don't want to live near black people. Oh, thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like y'all, and it's like, hey, I get it, because that's your perspective. That's your perception. But the reality is, what I really think I'm hearing is, you don't want to live near people that are tearing up the neighborhood. And that's where the education comes in, because there's a lot of minorities that do take care of their neighborhood, that do keep their property up, that want nice things, but they happen to be surrounded by some people that just haven't been accustomed to receiving nice things because of systematic design. But your brain, for those white people that I don't want to live near black people, they can't handle actually believing that. You mean to tell me there have been systems set up to keep people in the same environment no matter what? And even if you have that crabs in the barrel mentality when you live in a minority environment where you may be doing good, you keeping your grass up, and then somebody comes and throws trash on it or whatever, and you're like, what? And you're out there, you're doing more work to try to maintain your outward appearance and your inward appearance, and as far as your property is concerned. And you're like, this is just, so some people just say, you know what, let the neighborhood have it. I'm just going to go close my door because they can't come in here. But that takes discussion, that takes education, and that takes people being honest. You have to be honest. We had our pre-discussion. Again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs talked about, if your basic needs are met, you have air, water, so forth and so on.
Right.
Okay. Food, basic, done.
Right.
How is somebody else getting an abortion going to affect your life? How is somebody else being in a homosexual relationship affecting your life? If it's not affecting your food, your air, what do you care?
Right.
I mean, can we get to the point where it's like, it's not a big deal? Let that, well, I don't want my kids to see it. Oh, but you'd rather have your kids see somebody murdered in cold blood in public. Like, what? Now can we gauge, like, okay, well, that's not. Well, then let's say one takes priority and one is like, let's do an education, because there's other people that live on this planet. There's other kinds of people. I had a discussion with a friend. He's a neighbor, and he's really, I'm finding these people, okay, that are minorities that are like, I don't like gays. What? Are we still on that? Like, really? Well, don't be gay. Okay, let's try that. And anyway.
Yeah, then don't do it. It's all good.
It solves your problem.
Say no when a guy asks you out,
Yeah, right? Just say, I'm sorry, not interested.
Yeah, that's all.
With that being said,
yeah.
I said to him, do you know that sexuality was very fluid over 2,000 years ago? I mean, not even like 200 years ago. It had no labeling. There wasn't gender understanding like women and men and so forth and fighting, but there was none of this, like, if two men went off, nobody cared, because guess what? It wasn't them. I mean, we could go back into Greek mythology, and we don't want to talk about that, but I just found out maybe 2 weeks ago, was it you that told me this, Jared, that Sodom and Gomorrah was not about hedonism. It was about rape. So it wasn't that it was about homosexuality and depravity. It was about the aggression and negativity towards aggression towards sexuality. So people like in the forcing of circumstances. It wasn't necessarily about, and I was like, what? I thought it was like horribly, just sexual freedom, and that's why, God had to rain down on it, because, but it was actually the aggressive, it was people taking advantage of people sexually.
Wow.
It wasn't about just, they were skipping around and frolicking and very content with it.
Right.
No, it's the aggression. I mean, and that goes to speak to, I was blessed and fortunate enough to actually take care of Holocaust survivors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're over 20 years ago. And, they were, these particular individuals were like teenagers, early 20s, like 20 years ago, they were like in their 90s or whatever. But still lucid enough to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I said, how do you feel about mankind? How do you feel about German? Like, oh my God, I know somebody for German. I mean, thank God I'm not German. And I laughed. They're like, yeah, I don't care if you were German or not. I don't look at that circumstance. One of them told me, I don't look at that circumstance as all those people. And I'm not upset with God per se. I'm upset with the human that decided to be negative.
Wow.
And I was like,
right.
Oh, so what you're saying is it wasn't a punishment from God. It was an act of people collectively thinking that being negative is good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, yo, God has so much influence in our lives.
Right.
We are the conductors of this train.
Yeah.
Okay. God is not. We have choices to make. We have decisions to make. And when we as a nation can say, I don't like people being mean, you can have whatever views you want, but when you want to act on them, that's where the problem is.
Yeah, that's exactly what Jesus was talking about in the Beatitudes.
Preach, bro.
Yeah, well, where he says, basically, if you have anger in your heart, that's where the sin is. So because action flows from the heart, and so if you have anger in your heart, you're going to act that way. So, God, I'm doing that a service. So I'm going to defer back to you while I look it up, because I don't want to do that a disjust or an injustice on that one. So, or I get called to the carpet by somebody. Get called to the carpet by somebody like, "Hey, that was the blah blah blah." So let me get that. I do have my Bible, so
just to fill the time, it's just like we have to look at this not as, okay, good versus bad, dark versus evil, red, devil or angel. We have to look at it, and the newscasters are kind of like grazing over it, but they keep saying it. They keep saying it. They keep saying it. We have a nation divided. We have a nation divided. I mean, no matter how this election turns out, God willing, we personally want Biden to win, but we still, regardless if Biden wins, we still have to have a real conversation. We still have to realize, why did half of our nation say, we don't want this, we want to keep what's going on? And saying that, even though we had the looting and the violence and the protests and people just killing indiscriminate people, like, but we can get over it. But y'all are not coming up with a plan. We had a commander-in-chief that's the leader. Okay. He is our administrative leader of our government right now. And he has the ability to say, we're going to send in this, we're going to send the National Guard in, not to just stop it, but we're going to send in our negotiators so we can sit down and have a conversation on why these people keep protesting. They're upset. What demands do you want? Let's have intellectual conversations. Let's come up with resolution. Let's be a leader to try to solve the problems. I'm not saying to solve the problems, but at least attempt to solve the problem. Back in January, when we heard about the Wuhan or the COVID virus, we had all of the means. We saw other countries calling 3M saying, hey, we need masks. You guys got the N95s. We didn't do anything. We didn't question anything. We should have said, okay, once you get to the border, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. If my mother was still living, but thank God these stories still reign in my head, I remember my mom said they was back in the 1950s, late 40s, 60s, people had not smallpox. What was it?
Oh,
Not smallpox, but they had to quarantine
oh
for
yeah.
weeks at a time. And when I say quarantine, these people were putting food
Measles,
on
mumps.
mumps, something like that.
Okay.
One of the kids had it, you had to stay in the house, and
Mm,
that's real quarantining. What we did was a joke. We
yeah.
needed we needed executive orders to say no one's on the road. I mean, we needed checkpoints. We needed shit like that to say absolutely not. And then all across the nation, not just in the Northeast, everywhere people should have been wearing masks.
Hmm.
There should have been severe, significant social distancing. Me as a myself as a medical professional, would have loved to have helped flagship this to say, hey, world, let's do the right thing to keep us safe, because we really don't know. We have an understanding of possibly how this virus is being transmitted, but let's get ahead of it so that we don't. What is it? An ounce of prevention, we talked about it last week, is
Hmm.
worth a pound of cure. Go ahead.
Hmm.
So what Bible verse did you find to
Oh, it
help?
was Matthew 5:21. Starting at Matthew 5:21. You have heard it said that it was said to the people long ago, "Do not murder. Anyone who murders will be subject to judgment." But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to his brother, Raka, Raca, is answerable to the Sanhedrin. But anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and reconcile with your brother, then come and offer the gift. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you are still with him on the way, or he may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. So, yeah.
So do it before it gets out of control. And I
Yep.
feel like when you have, I mean, I want people, this is a very hard concept to try to share with people, especially when they're in their feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A white supremacist is just like a super ultra blinded Black Lives Matter person.
Wow.
Because when you feel as though your rights are so much more important than somebody else's, then
Mm-hmm.
you've lost the fight.
Mm.
You have to realize that we're all human. And even though I sit here and I love being my minority self, I love being a woman, Jewish, you name it. I look at someone else who's of a different religion than me, and when they say they love God, we're done. There's no more discussion. That's it. That's right, because I love God too. Next.
Yep.
I don't want to get into semantics about, because I go to services Friday night when I do, because I don't do it all the time. I'm not, don't hold me to task, whatever.
Who are you talking
The fact of the matter is,
to?
or Saturday morning, come on now. I believe in God, and I love to fellowship with who I fellowship with. Okay. That's my choice. That's my decision.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, I do believe in God and I want goodness. You believe in God. You want goodness. That's it.
Absolutely.
We can't start, well, why don't you believe the way I do? Absolutely not doing that. Because just as passionate as you feel about yours, I feel about mine, and we agree and we're good. I'm not perceiving that you're going to go to hell, or because I don't really even get into that. But the fact of the matter is, no, I'm not going to do that. We're not going to, because when I start passing my judgment, guess what? That one going this way got 3 pointing back at me.
Exactly.
One you're doing is 3 times as much. So therefore, so when I look, I actually have, Jared, I'm about to say it. I have sympathy. I have almost empathy for white supremacists. Because if they stop, listen, okay.
All right.
It's shrouded in hate. I get it.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
It's shrouded in hate. But the premise of it is self-preservation. They just want to preserve the life that they have, and their primitive fear is that someone's going to change it. And with that, so I look at them like a bunch of toddlers, like a bunch of babies that don't know no better. And because I now see them as babies, and that's like very, really widespread, horrible concept. For those that have not acted out on severe ignorance and haven't tried to persecute people, but they just spouting the rhetoric, I'm like, okay, well, let's see if we can change. You don't have to like me because of whatever your issues are.
Right.
but don't try to hurt people, because then you cross the line, and therefore, your judgment will come. And that's not by me. I'm not wishing it on you. It just happens, honey. It's just the way the
Yeah.
world.
No,
But
that's true. No, I get that. I can see that I can see that rationale. I can see it, and I'm not sure if I'm with you there on the as you know. Yeah,
invite them to dinner.
fair enough. No. I get what you're saying. I get you're not like looking to be friends with them or anything like that, but you're not gonna get into the argument and the
No,
pettiness about it.
exactly, because they're not ready. You've gone to the extreme. And
Yeah.
just like, look, we repping Black Lives Matter left and right. Yes, but we're like, okay, but there's other issues on this planet, Black Lives Matter. And now you're under the umbrella of all minorities, LGBTQ community,
Mhm.
this, that. We've got work to do, not just police brutality. I mean, you've got, in lower socioeconomic white environments, there's a lot of petty crimes and a lot of violations. And I feel like, those people need a voice, but because they're part of the majority, they don't get voices. They don't get heard, because it's like, you're poor. And it's like, no, they need voices. They need to be heard. Look, here's the deal.
Bring it.
I can't, Jerry, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted talking about wanting goodness, kindness, and love.
Yeah.
Yes, and essentially it comes back to the election. It's like, we want to change, and hopefully with Biden's leadership, we can have these town hall meetings. And I think, who said town hall meetings are just a bunch of people yelling back at each other? Well, we need to have large social gatherings. Well, with appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's the pandemic.
You know,
But we need to
Zoom
have,
gatherings.
yeah, exactly, large social Zoom gatherings, so that people can really voice. And the sad thing is, I think the people that hold back on wanting to have these discussions, because they know some of their desires is based off of greed, gluttony, hatred, and they're like, I don't want to reveal that. Then that means you got fucking homework to do.
Mm-hmm.
You got to deal with what's going on in you. And you have to ask yourself, am I doing this out of greed, gluttony, hatred? Or am I doing it because it's a lot of soul searching. It's a lot of soul searching. And I mean, like, I feel like a lot of people that got dissuaded to vote for Trump that got, persuaded to vote for Trump were because of social environment. Like, well, I'm around it. If I don't do it, then I'm going to be perceived as other. Then I don't want to be perceived as other. And what is that? What is that called? What is that called? Shame.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shame. Oh boy, I heard something about a month ago. Her name is Bobby something. I don't know. She's a psychologist. She's popular.
Okay, you're gonna have to
She's on the
expound on
regular.
that later.
Yeah, I have to let her
Yeah.
know who but she did a topic on shame.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my God.
Hmm.
And that's where I think that's another discussion for another day. But go ahead.
I had nothing. I was just sitting here agreeing with you.
I want to, but I do. Okay, so back to the election.
Okay.
Probing you to find out the discussions, the enlightening discussions you had.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, that's been a topic of conversation in my social studies class. We actually doing world history in there, so fitting to pay attention to history as it's happening in real time. And the students really gravitate towards it, and which is awesome, because I wouldn't expect that from the majority of them, but it appears that the majority, if not all of them, are really paying attention. So just threw it out there. Who do you like and why? And so hands down, they all virtually all of them said Biden. But they all were able to provide a reason and not an insult or attack on the other guy.
Wow, these kids are learning so much.
And I'm like, so I had to point it out to him. I was like, guys, that's just awesome. You said you like him for this reason. You said you like him. The one I remember is one of my students said that Biden supports Black Lives Matter because everybody's equal. You know, we're all the same, regardless of our skin color. We're all the same. We all bleed, you know, we all have the same blood. Well, not same blood, but we all have, you know, we all bleed red, you know, is basically what it's trying to get at. And so it just floored me. And so anybody else I asked, you know, just, they were all able to back it up is my point. And it wasn't rumor. It was stuff that they've actually watched and seen and heard, you know, in regards to the news and the right news, and not necessarily just paying attention to their Facebook feed is my point. Or listening to only one resource. Anyway, my point being is, I just let them know, I was like, guys, that what just happened is just awesome. And I want to point out to you guys how proud I am of you guys, because it's just flat out awesome that you guys were able to provide a reason and back up why you liked who you liked, and without insulting or attacking the other guy. And so, guys, I was like, hey guys, let me tell you something.
Talk to your parents.
I know adults who can't do that.
We know.
And they just busted up. They thought it was hilarious. I'm like, yeah, guys, you're a little bit more mature and intellectual than some of the adults I know.
Period. And it's sad because it goes back to the kindergarten, you know, when you learn to stand in line, when you learn to have everybody be fair. Like, we prided ourselves on that simplistic, like, we're all being, everybody gets a turn, everybody. And if somebody wasn't, you know, getting a turn, somebody else was like, hey, that person's not getting a turn. We all need to be fair.
Right.
Like, those are like the fundamental things we learned in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And it's like, why hasn't it continued through our lives? Like, I still want to share what I have.
Right.
If I have enough, I'm definitely sharing.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
If I can't, I can't. Now, I'm not gonna.
Right.
I'm old enough to be like, I can't.
Right. Yeah, I'm not gonna feel guilty about it.
No, and I'm not gonna feel guilty either. But I mean, and so a lot of it is a lot of soul searching. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I think about certain individuals with voting for the current administration. It's like social peer, economic, and then so that was like social, like being your peer group. Mm-hmm. Then you have the economic peer group. They're saying more Caucasian educated women voted for suburban women voted for Trump. More women. I don't know. What, am I getting it wrong? What happened? No.
I thought it was more suburban women voted for Biden.
Okay. Then what?
I'll have to go back and look, but
I know it was more women somewhere than in 2016. Mm-hmm. Voted for Trump in certain areas. I think they were talking about individual states.
Oh yeah.
Okay, fine. We don't have to do the gender thing if that's how you feel, but I'm really just shocked and sad. Just, I'm sorry.
Well, and here, so
that we're still like how many days out and it hasn't been called yet.
Well, and that was to be expected. We knew that. Come on.
The pandemic, I know, but still.
So they're still counting the mail-in and absentee ballots or absentee ballots.
But Jared, like, come on now.
Well, bear in mind that some of those states, a lot of those states actually, they're not able to open the ballots.
That was my state.
Until election day.
That was
and
my
even
state.
Then, they still have to count the in-person votes first.
Yeah. That was my state.
So the 10% that's still remaining, potentially, logically, would be the remaining mail-in ballots, which tend to swing Democrat.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Considering it's coming from the southeast section of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, over an hour ago, it was only like 90,000 that separated us.
Well, here's if Nevada is called for Biden, or
Nevada needs to hurry up.
It's well, they're not going to be. They're I actually listened to their by the way, for those that are listening, we are recording on Thursday, so we're 2 days out from the election.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I watched today the press conference from the one of the. It wasn't the Secretary of State, but he was one of the. I want to say he was one of the Attorney Generals in Arizona, and um, he was saying that they're gonna. If I understood him correctly, they're gonna release their numbers tomorrow.
I thought it was today, which was
I thought it was
Thursday.
supposed to be today too,
I
but
know. So I'm just very.
well, and bear in mind they also said Tuesday that it would be Wednesday. So here we are.
Yeah, right.
But Pennsylvania is supposed to be done tomorrow, right? From what I
Yeah,
understood.
on Friday because we're
So,
down to the last 10%.
yeah.
Well, the last I checked, it was 12%. Still not counted, but we'll wait. We'll see.
Well, if I'm doing my math correctly, that 12%, that means there's enough votes in there to make up the difference that Biden is behind.
Oh
There's
yeah,
more,
over 100,000.
there's more votes than that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah.
Let's just hope they all go in the right place.
Right. Right.
All right.
Anyway, but it really, I mean, just it in my opinion, just really swings back to just straight up human decency. You know, it's it's not even comical to me anymore. Some of the stuff that's coming out of this administration, or specifically 45's mouth.
Yeah.
You're wanting to file lawsuits when the count's not even over.
It's a clown. This is a clown act.
You want to claim victory while in the same breath claim fraudulence. I mean, how does this work? So
talking out both sides of his face. It's crazy.
Yeah. But
oh my God.
It was that was part of one of the conversations that I had with my students, and I'm of the ilk where I'd recognize that there's a line, and there is potential that I may have crossed it a little bit today.
I don't think you did. I think
but it was a natural conversation when my students are the ones bringing it up.
Exactly. So that's no.
And when I'm sharing with them straight up fact, I don't even. The one thing I said about it, because one of my students came in and said that she was getting into an argument with one of her other classmates, and about Trump being a racist. She made the claim that Trump's racist, and her classmate, not her friend, just somebody that she's in class with. And I don't know how that whole conversation came about, but point being, she made the comment and he got angry about it. And so she was telling me that she was just venting her frustration about it. And I said, well, did you happen to research any of the comments he made? She said, no, not yet. I was like, all right. I shared with him that, next time, if you have that conversation again, bring up the fact that he's not condemned or spoken out against white supremacists or white supremacy.
That's
in the past 4 years, even when being directly grilled about it.
It's like you okay, so we'll sit in the comfortable what is it? Calm zone, not calm zone, but we'll sit in the hot, we'll take the higher road and say he's not racist. We're not gonna say he's racist, but we are gonna say that he doesn't condemn them. And so what happens if I have a murderer, somebody gets murdered out in front of my house, and they're like, did you see it? I'm like, I'm not going to condemn anybody that does whatever they do in front of me. I mean, I can't, like, no, you saw it, tell them that that's not good or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not going to this is where I don't want to do. I don't want to get into the moral character of somebody else, because then I'm subjected to my moral character in question. And that's fine. Not that I'm perfect, but I don't feel like dealing with that. But what I will say is, when you're in a position of leadership, that's, how am I going to keep my lights on? I got to go to work. How am I going to keep, the water flowing through my house and the heat and so forth and so on? Do you feel me? I have to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
Because I'm the leader in this house right now. I
Right.
have to take the lead on these financial responsibilities. And when there's a dispute in my home, I have to sit down the parties and we have to discuss and see what's going on and come out. I mean, it seems very like, well, that's what a job is. Exactly. And so
Yeah.
when you're the leader of this country, and we can say the leader of the free land or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
when you're the leader, you're in a position to actually think, to use critical thinking and
Yes.
say, let's come up with a resolution so that we can live in harmony. Okay. Our desire is peace and contentment, but at least we can live in harmony and just live our own individual lives without feeling that we're going to be persecuted or subjected to unnecessary, I don't know. I'm tired, Jared. Because it's just common sense. I think, but you can't use
No,
the term common sense
I know, right?
because not
And
everything.
dare we bring up the correlation between Trump supporters and not being educated? How dare I bring that up?
When you start talking about that, then they feel stupid or they feel angry. Because it's the truth. I mean, oh, I say I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But it's like when you look at the education, even so, when you hear like, oh, the media is, but they did their research, and they're like, the majority of these kind of people voted for this kind of person. The majority, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say having a college degree makes you intelligent, but at least be somewhere where even if you don't have a college degree, have critical thinking skills.
Hmm.
You don't have to have a college degree to have critical thinking skills. And what are critical thinking skills? Asking questions and
Hmm.
actually seeking an answer.
Right.
Of
Proactively,
what,
seeking an answer. Absolutely.
and not just of whatever question you're asking. Ask yourself, why am I asking this question? Because what purpose is asking this question going to serve me? Back to hierarchy
Yeah.
of need.
Absolutely.
How is it going to serve me? Is it going to alter, affect, or change my life? Because things will and things won't. And you literally have to be able to, yes, no, yes, no. I don't. And then say, okay, then these collective things are important to me. Let me then start asking those questions with a desire for resolution, not just
Absolutely.
get on somebody's nerves.
Right. But
Because I'll call you on that too. I'll call
play,
you on.
playing devil's advocate, though, sometimes it is kind of fun getting on somebody else's nerves.
Stop it, Jared.
I mean, I'm sorry. I find it funny when I'm blocked and unfriended. It's just funny to me. Um,
Accomplish.
it's funny to me being called a troll by another troll. It just, it's just,
Gold accomplished.
yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, but yeah. You're gonna, yeah, nope. I can't.
Can. Can. But it's like, okay, now I'm gonna use that because once you have critical thinking, then you have abilities to
Insult people without knowing that they're being insulted.
Exactly. I was gonna say manipulate a conversation, cultivate the way you want gear, like gauge a conversation the way you want it to go, so that you can get your ultimate goal achieved. Yeah. Because that we know that's what's going to feed you. If you really wanted to have a quote unquote intelligent conversation, if you really and an intelligent conversation doesn't mean you use $20 words. It means that I have an objective and I want resolution. Okay. Yeah. And therefore that's what an intelligent, it could be, we can use the simplest words on the planet.
Oh no, I'll give you a perfect example, but go ahead.
No, so that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't have to be like I love having conversations with kids.
Oh yeah.
Because they realize, like, I just want to know what it is.
Yeah, no, I love having those kinds of conversations with my students. I mean, just because there's natural conversation, and I think it's appropriate in the context of what's going on in the country today, and it's relevant. Therefore, let's have an open conversation about it. Because it's their history. They're growing up in that, and they want to know. And so now, granted, I'm not feeding them all the answers. There's a lot of, well, you got the world at your fingertips, buddy. I'll help you with the spelling.
That's right.
I'll help you with the spelling, and then you just figure it out from there, man. You got the text to speech extension on your computer, so you got that if you need it, So, um,
Jared, sorry, because it just literally, I'm sorry, it popped into my head like that. If we can hypothetically live in a world where Trump was like, he condemned white supremacists,
mhm.
he was the same president, but he condemned white supremacists. He said Black Lives Matter, but we need resolute, we need to calm our country. Do you think we would still feel the same way about him?
If he only did those two things solely, I mean, if he just did that, condemned white supremacy and then said, yes, I support Black Lives Matter, and that was the only thing he did with no action behind it, it wouldn't make jack crap to me, because
Really?
he's not backed it up.
Well, the only reason why I say
He's
that,
he's not promoted any kind of legislation. He wouldn't,
okay,
assuming,
okay.
if that's all he did without any action behind it, then yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I'm sorry, because that's where
Okay.
I'm at right now.
Okay.
I'm done with the words. Let's get with the action.
Action. All right. So with that being said, when we had a conversation with another person, it was
Mhm.
three
I
of
got
us.
you. Yeah, I got you. I know who you're
Okay.
talking about.
And that person was very much in favor of the current administration.
Right.
I felt like when that person was speaking with us, there was something still hidden,
Mhm.
because the platform on which she was standing on, like, we're doing this. And it was like we always had a rebuttal for, well, he did this,
Mhm.
economy was good, but then it went to this because, well, that was because of a pandemic. Well, no, because when he came in, the economy was relatively decent when he
Yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
And those infrastructures that were already established, were assisting and aiding in that.
Mhm.
So with that being said, I mean, and we can, those are semantics. We don't have to argue those, but there's still a hidden agenda. And I really want the Trump supporters to say why else he makes them feel comfortable. Why else do this? And that is the horrible, like, for instance, if we talk about Bush and we talk about we talk about Obama, and we could talk about all the presidents.
Sure.
Because if you have Bush is one of the last Republican presidents we had. Well, he was the last Republican president we had. And he had the House.
I'll flat out say that and completely agree with it, regardless of who's regardless of the person in the office right now who claims to be a Republican.
I know, a Republican. He had majority of the House, or was it, who did he have?
Who are we talking about, Bush?
Yeah. So the laws that he could enact.
Yeah, I thought he had. I'll have to go back and look, but I thought at least for one term he had the Republican control of the Congress.
Yes, he had of the Congress, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and what did he do with it? Not very much. I mean, he got a war out of it.
Yeah.
But our country, I never felt an intense fear like I do now as a minority. And that was back in the early 2000s when it was supposed to, the aliens were supposed to come or whatever. So.
Right. That's funny.
And I still don't feel as scared as I feel now, because I feel like we've been lawless. We've had no administrative leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, and I think a lot of the reason why the Trump supporters love him, because of that sense of, he's not going to change the way of life as I understand it as a minority. I mean, as a majority.
Mm-hmm. Here's going back to us, and this is so we got into the conversation, one of the conversations with this was yesterday, because we have blended students. So by Wednesday, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday's class may not look, obviously it will not look exactly the same as my Tuesday, Thursday class. Yeah. So I had similar conversations yesterday, and I think I thought she said that she was in favor of Trump because of the taxes. She likes the tax cuts. And I was like, what if I told you that, yeah, that's great. You have more net pay, you're taking more money home, right? Per paycheck. Sure. But what if I told you that you still had to pay that back at the end of the year? what? So yeah. So shit, yeah. So I mean, talking about money and dollars, I mean, just like, yeah, guys, where do you want your cut? I mean, where do you want your tax cut? Do you want it every paycheck, or do you want it at the end of the year so you don't have to pay back the money? I mean, that's just.
But you know what?
I may be looking at
Because-
it very simplistic or overly simplistic, but at the
No.
same time, I mean, just like,
Because that's
if one
the
is
thing.
true, the other one is also true. So
Jared, that's the thing.
yeah,
That's where it comes from, critical thinking. Ask yourself, where then is the comeback? Like, what is the catch? Because if you're not critically going to think, then things like that, like, oh, I'm going to get more money on my paycheck, yay.
yeah,
When you're not asking, wait, hold on, how much are they going to give me when it's time for, am I in that financial bracket? Does making 40,000 a year really mean something? Or 60,000 or 30,000?
yep.
Like, you have to ask those questions, and it's okay, because that's what we have these discussions, and we can ask these questions, and then all collectively look at our leadership and be like, we looking for an answer. What's up?
Yep.
So
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Going. Another example of the critical thinking. Got into a fire ribbon, if you will, on Facebook with some person. I don't know who this
I
person
love
is,
you and your craziness.
but see, I was commenting on a public page, and this particular person, the owner of the page, she's friends with my wife.
Oh, okay.
So there's the connection.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that was the connection. I was responding to my wife's friend. Right.
Okay.
So we were getting into the conversation, and then her friend, or I don't know,
A friend of her friend.
a friend of hers, or a family member, or I don't know. Anyway, excuse me. She chimed in, and eventually, and this is all about anti-masking, by the way. Yeah. So
my girlfriend just lost her mom to COVID, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Very devastating.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No. Anyway, not to dismiss that. I'm sorry. I don't mean disrespect.
Don't get started. Don't get a healthcare professional started with the shit. Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. I know better than to do that with my dad, and he's in a clinic, so giving lung tests. So I mean, like he's still, yeah, they're still reeling from that. Not at any rate. Moving forward. God bless. I sound so disrespectful. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
So she had made the comment, because we were talking about, because my question was to the friend, okay, so because the meme was, some guy says Jesus would social distance, and then another guy comes back and says, well, Jesus touched lepers. Okay. And so then it became, so her main point being that if you have faith in Jesus, that alone will cure and protect you. So yeah.
What, isn't there a biblical verse? Isn't there a Christian verse that says prayer with?
Luke was a doctor.
Yeah, right.
Let's just leave it there. Luke was a freaking doctor.
I'm just saying,
I didn't even bring that up.
Like, prayer without work is it? What is that phrase I hear?
Prayer without works is dead.
Yes.
Or no, faith without works is dead.
Exactly.
And that's in James, by the way.
Yeah. So it's like, just wear the mask. You can have all the. I have faith.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm doing a due diligence, because even though I may be asymptomatic and fine.
Yeah.
I could be passing it on to people that are not.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, and yet we're the sheep. I'm just going to leave it there. Anyway, so this friend, in the conversation that I was having with my wife's friend, made the comment about that virtually all the doctors are only in it for the money and pushing drugs. And so I just simply said, no, I just simply said, from where did you get that information?
Period.
That's where I left it. Her reaction to me was simply laughing at me and asking, "Open your eyes. Can you not just see that?" And I'm like, "Good deflection. That was not an answer to my question. You presented facts. I asked where you got them." And then she comes back and insults me. And I'm said, "Again, good deflection. You're still not answering my question." And it just got
Jared.
it just hurts. It hurts.
So then,
I mean, apply a little common sense, and if you're presenting facts, you need to be able to back it up.
Jared, with the critical thinking, with an administration that focuses on money,
yeah,
why is this now the topic of argument when it comes to not wearing masks?
Right.
Why does money have to factor into this? And not even deflecting from the fact that if you perceive that it's money, this disease, hundreds of thousands of dollars to hospitals, not doctors, not, it's coming from the insurance companies. It's not, so it's like money it has nothing. People are going at all costs to try to save people.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
How much is your life worth?
Exactly.
So don't sit here and tell me that it has something to do with money when it is putting a freaking mask on your face to protect yourself and others. Period. That's a humanitarian. That's the least you can do for another human being.
Exactly.
If that's
exactly.
the least you can do.
Exactly.
And you want to somehow bring money in? How much is your life valued?
Right.
And you care about some. Oh well, I'm not going to wear it because. Shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is also coming from a couple of people whose mentality is God's going to take care of it, and when it's our time to go, it's our time to go.
Okay. Oh, hey, okay.
So there is a little bit of religion behind it, but ultimately, when you come down to it, it's a matter of they don't trust the doctors because this particular one of the friend had a horrible experience with another family member. I'll just put it that way. And so as a result of that, what I would perceive to be trauma, she has a negative opinion about the medical field. Yet she'll take her sons to the doctor when a bone is broke. Just saying.
Go to the tree, get some branches and splint it up. It's like, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah, no, we'll leave it there, and we'll leave it there. I don't want to get too deep into that, but it just goes all to the point of critical thinking and just, dude, being a decent person. Yeah, I know that.
Affecting my air? Yes. This is then when we're going to talk. You're messing with my Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you messing with my overall health, my general health? Yeah, now we have to have a discussion because that mentality is keeping the virus alive. I mean, it's keeping it connecting to live hosts. Okay, because the virus is not alive.
Right. Well, I've got I hate to shift conversation, but I've not gotten the notice yet, but I am paying attention to the time, and we're almost at an hour now. So, it's another long episode. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said at the very beginning, natural conversation.
And we just go on.
Yeah, this could go forever, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. But we won't do that to you. So that being said, I'm gonna because we've not really said much about it. We've said it a couple of times, but as far as the phrase goes, but I'm just going to point out that Black lives still matter, and so it just there's I've not done this before, but I'm going to plug a movie. Watch Antebellum. Watch the movie Antebellum.
I have to be guarded when I watch that kind of stuff, Jared.
The writer and director also wrote or co-wrote with Jordan Peele Get Out and Us.
Oh, okay.
So it is, and it's. I'll just flat out tell you, it's based on the director's nightmare. I've read, because I actually looked it up. I had to look it up because is this based on a true story?
Yeah,
There's a
right.
reason why I did that, and if you watch the movie, you'll understand why.
Okay.
But so in my research or in my looking it up, I found that the director said, or the writer and director said that he based the movie off of a short story that he wrote as a result of a regularly occurring nightmare.
Okay. I'm gonna watch it, and we can
So,
discuss.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
God, especially in context of today. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is definitely so. By next Thursday,
Yeah.
we should not only have our presidential results back.
Oh yeah.
We should be able to discuss what's currently going on with the world in relation to the movie that I'm about to watch and share with Jared.
It for those, I mean, they're in radio. I mean, just for everybody listening, it's hard stuff to watch.
That's probably why I don't want to watch it, Jared. This is all for research.
Yeah, it's all for research. But oh God, it's hard to watch. And then there's just this huge twist that just blew my mind.
Don't tell me. Don't.
You know, and so I'm like, oh my gosh. So anyway, it's really good. It's a really good movie. So that being said, yeah, now we've extended a little bit further. So I'm sorry about that, guys. Thank you guys for listening. It's been a great conversation. Love my sister Monet.
Love my brother Jared.
If you have if we'd love for you to join the conversation, you can find us, find the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast. I think we're now on iHeartRadio. Oh my gosh, I know I'm missing a few more. Spreaker's one of them. Oh man, it's like it's like giving a word speech. Like, oh, now can I kind of understand that? It's like, oh, you're under pressure. Anyway, but if you have any questions or want to join the conversation, hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, or our email is tntwmj@gmail.com. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your feedback. With that being said, Monet, leave us with the final word.
We're going to have prayer. We're going to make sure our nation stays safe. We want to live in the semblance of comfort that we live in and enlightenment. Okay. Thank you all for being a part of this experience with us. I love my brother and his family. And you guys have a wonderful week.
Absolutely.